ESPN has placed Mike Norvell on the hot seat going into the 2025 season. Florida State going 2-10. That's probably expected there, but for the circumstance of Florida State and what they had previously going 13-1, don't really count the bowl game as much. Florida State did not field most of their starters and playmakers in that game, as we know, in that Orange Bowl. But Florida State, with Mike Norvell, they've got a massive season ahead all around. They've made multiple new hires all across the board, offensively and defensively. They've also gone to the off-the-field staff as well. And, man, they've been all through the transfer portal and actually had a pretty impressive early signing day period, with the matter of fact of a really brutal season in 2024. But ESPN has officially placed him on the hot seat for 2025. They put him at the don't do that again tier. I don't know. I guess they're being pretty creative in what they're trying to do with these hot seat articles. But in the quote from senior writer from ESPN, Adam Rittenberg, saying not much has gone right for Mike Norvell or FSU since the college football playoff snub in 2023. The Noles beat only one FBS opponent in 2024 and tumbled to 130th nationally and scoring an 88th in points allowed. The 2-10 mark is FSU's worst season since 1974, 2 years before Bobby Bowden became head coach in Tallahassee. Florida State going 2-10, the season that what I don't think any of us were expecting to happen. We heard a lot of good things going into the spring camp, going into fall camp. They felt really high on some of the newcomers that they had coming in, including the freshmen, but of course the transfers that Mike Norvell and the coaching staff previously had hit on pretty well, and off the field staff as well. They've done a good job usually throughout their last couple of years in that regard through the transfer portal, but the 2024 class just did not hit. It was not right. Things did not perform well. They expected some guys to come in and to be immediate impact players for Florida State, and that just was not the case from a handful of guys. Some more quotes here from Adam Rittenberg of ESPN saying, Norvell will reboot with two notable new coordinators in Gus Malzahn and Tony White. Gus Malzahn, as we know, Florida State's new offensive coordinator, and then Tony White, new defensive coordinator. FSU's transfer portal mastery fizzled in 2024, and Mike Norvell will need quarterback Thomas Castellanos and other newcomers to hit this fall. Norvell's post-2023 contract put him in the top 10 nationally in salary and will work in his favor, especially at a school not flush with cash. But he can't afford another faceplant this fall. And, you know, in my opinion, of course, you can't go another season like that again. You know, it was on the fringe of, man, if you lost one more of those games, there's definitely some conversations of how, you know, just depending, you know, a lot of money goes into this. This is the biggest thing. A lot of money goes into what we just heard of, a top 10 national salary at the college football landscape that he's in. Didn't have a lot of money on FSU side to make any moves there. And two, I think the administration on their end with Michael Alford and the rest of the camp, they feel very highly of Mike Norvell. They still do. They think with some adjustments and kind of getting back to their groove back in the transfer portal, will do a lot of good things. And also, too, some staff changes that were probably expected before it was too late. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it was pretty, I would say, I wouldn't say shocking, but a little alarming that the Seminoles didn't make some staff adjustments after the 2023 season. But that's very hard to do when you go 13-0 through the season. You win an ACC championship. I understand that. I get that. But you could certainly see through the last couple of years, though, some regression, some things on the recruiting side, and just overall coaching just wasn't at the magnitude where it should be in order to continue this program and where it should be headed. And, you know, I think that backfired and hit them very hard in 2024 when Florida State was only able to come away with 2 wins. And you could see in certain position groups it was lacking, and they desperately needed change there. And Florida State, you know, I think Mike Norvell, one thing that he learned is that his loyalty can sometimes kill him. And, you know, I think Florida State overall, just going with the new wave of NIL, I think they learned a big lesson there as well, because they were constrained, or they were held and constrained it felt like from some of these former players that are no longer with the program. They have gone and now they're off to other schools in the country, but they were held going into that season of NIL. Want to make this kind of money, or I'm going to hear from other schools and take those offers from them. But Florida State held there in a lot of different ways off the field, and I think in the NIL space. But like I said, Florida State brings in Gus Malzahn coming as an offensive coordinator. He will be the play caller for the Seminoles. This is something that Mike Norvell had always done. Yes, Kenny Dillingham played a part in that during his time in Tallahassee, but Mike Norvell was the primary play caller on Saturdays, and now you have Tony White coming in from Nebraska as a defensive coordinator, which he's brought in a handful of transfers himself as well. Probably one of your key ones here as a pass rusher with James Williams coming off of as a defensive end, a really good pass rusher that can get to the quarterback that is going to see a lot more playing time, who was previously a reserve over there for the Cornhuskers. And then, going over to the offense, Thomas Castellanos, now expected to be that guy, expected to be that starting quarterback in 2025. Florida State has faced him plenty of times before, and they've lost to him. They lost to him just this last year, and to me, I think that could have been even – I think Boston College could have ran up the score if they really wanted to, but Bill O'Brien didn't really understand that Thomas Castellanos is not a pro-style quarterback. You got to utilize his legs, get him out of the pocket, and run him more. But luckily, I wouldn't say luckily, Florida State still lost that game, but still had a chance there a little bit in the second half. But now expected Thomas Castellanos to be your starter. And then you brought in some other guys across the board, both offensively, defensively. Sticking on the offense, you've got Deuce Spann. You've got Deuce Robinson coming in, which actually Deuce Spann is going to be coming back to face Florida State. He now committed over to Pittsburgh, but it's going to be Deuce versus Deuce. But Deuce Robinson coming from USC, expecting him to be a starter in 2025, to be a playmaking threat for Thomas Castellanos. Brought in Squirrel White, who is a very well-experienced SEC wide receiver from Tennessee. And then you also reloaded there at the tight end room. You're still staying stable with what you got in the running back room. You did a whole revamp at the offensive line, which was mandatory now under Herb Hand. And then on the defensive side, too, like I just said, they're reloading personnel there at the defensive end room. They've been doing some good work too as well, adding some depth and some guys that are going to play probably day one in the linebacker room there. Like a guy named Elijah Herring, probably Stephon Thompson coming over with Tony White from Nebraska, also going all the way back to his days at Syracuse as well. And, I think overall, for Mike Norvell, the message, I understand the climb has been the message since day one. Climb fell off, but now it's time to get back to your roots and hit what you've done successfully through the transfer portal. A lot of project guys they brought in, definitely a handful of them from Alabama that just did not work out whatsoever. And it's still got some guys that are going to be on the roster, like a Roy Dell Williams at the running back position. But Florida State, they kick off the season against the Crimson Tide at home. It is a big, 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 massive season ahead for Florida State's football program and in the future of what it's going to look like, because it very well, Florida State can't get into its groove and find 7-8 wins. Yes, Mike Norvell most certainly is close to that chopping block. Florida State's got to reach a bowl game, in my opinion, next year for Mike Norvell to keep his job safe. But it's not going to please a whole lot of Florida State fans, though. I think 8-9, you feel a little bit better, definitely, in what now is definitely a rebound and a reset kind of year for the Florida State Seminoles. So we'll see what happens. As always, thank you for watching this video. Hit the like button down below if you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button too. We've got tons of videos going out for you guys with latest news all across the board. No matter if it's the off season, videos are going to keep flying out here on our YouTube channel. So appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you in the next video.